When you think of American wars, what comes to mind? Big, formal declarations, right? Congress votes. The president gives a speech, and the whole world knows. But what if I told you that one of the most important wars in American history was never officially declared at all? It was a conflict that reshaped the nation, massively expanded U.S. power, and changed the way America fights its wars forever. In the late 18th and early 19th centuries, the United States was a brand new country. We had a weak navy, very limited resources, and were surrounded by powerful, competing empires. Out on the open seas, American ships were constantly being attacked, seized, and sometimes even destroyed. And this wasn't just pirates we're talking about, foreign powers. America was already in a war. It just never said so out loud. This brings us to the Quasi-War. Between 1798 and 1800, the United States fought a full-on, undeclared naval war against France. That's what historians call it today, the Quasi-War. There was no declaration of war, no formal announcement from the government. But make no mistake, American and French warships were openly fighting each other all across the Atlantic Ocean. So why didn't America just declare war? Well, the U.S. government at the time feared something much worse than France. Division at home. The country was intensely split politically. The Federalists and the Democratic Republicans were at each other's throats. Declaring a formal war, leaders feared, could destabilize the new government, bankrupt the economy, and potentially even fracture the young Union. So, they chose a very dangerous compromise. Fight the war, but don't call it a war. And the fighting was real. American ships were ordered to hunt down French vessels. French privateers were capturing American sailors and seizing their cargo. Over the course of the conflict, hundreds of ships were captured on both sides. Yet, back home, the conflict was framed as mere defensive action. In reality, it was a full-scale naval war. And interestingly, it was during this quiet conflict that America began to seriously build up its navy, laying the foundation for its future as a global power. What's really fascinating is how little most Americans knew about it. There were no mass mobilizations of troops, no patriotic parades, no battlefield monuments being built. Families might learn about a naval battle months after it happened, if they even heard about it at all. This war existed mainly in newspaper clippings, in quiet legal debates, and in classified naval orders. It was a war fought largely without public awareness. But the legal legacy of this undeclared war is huge. By fighting France without a formal declaration, the U.S. government set a powerful and dangerous precedent. It proved that it could use military force, engage in prolonged conflicts, and do it all while bypassing the constitutional process of officially declaring war. Future presidents would look back at this example, from the Korean War to Vietnam, and all the way to modern conflicts. America would find itself fighting wars without ever actually declaring them. So why don't schools teach this more often? The Quasi-War doesn't really fit into the heroic, clean narrative we like to tell about American history. There was no single grand victory. There were no famous generals on horseback, and there was no clear, triumphant ending. It was messy, political, and frankly, a bit uncomfortable. So, it often gets skipped over. But this undeclared war truly changed America forever. It created the modern U.S. Navy. It expanded the president's power to use the military, and it normalized the very idea of undeclared warfare. America learned that it could fight a war without asking for permission from Congress or the history books. This war had no formal declaration, no victory parade, and has almost no place in our collective memory. But it changed everything. The United States didn't start fighting undeclared wars in the 20th century. It started at the very beginning of the nation, and that might just be its most important and most forgotten war of all. Thanks for watching. If you found this piece of hidden history interesting, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more.